Revealed, 13 bone-chilling stories of the eerie rain, forbidden tales to haunt your dreams. The storm clouds roiled above Maple Grove like an angry beast, as Jake sat in the dilapidated community center, the place shrouded in thick, cloying memories and fear. The floor creaked beneath him, each sound echoing as if the building itself was preparing to unleash its dark secrets. The elders began droning on about 13 tales that had gripped the community for generations, their faces pale and quivering under the flickering fluorescent lights. Here, whispers of ghostly apparitions that roamed during rainstorms echoed far too vividly in the closed space, urging even the bravest souls to quail. Whatever was coming with this storm felt eerily connected to the haunting lore of their town. As the first story unfolded, Jake felt the chill creep up his spine, frost forming on the edges of the collective consciousness of Maple Grove. The tale was about a rain-soaked tragedy, a mother who lost her child to the relentless downpour, only to return as a weeping specter, forever searching for what the storm had claimed. Each tear she shed became a storm, and her wails were said to summon the very thunder. Some called her the Rain Lady, while others hushed their voices, careful not to speak her name, fearing her wrath. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows, as if to punctuate the gravity of the tale being spun. The growing intensity made Jake's heart race. He glanced at his friends, fear lined their faces, wide eyes shimmering with uncertainty, as the second story came to life, an unnerving account of a fisherman lost at sea during a storm, only to be found wandering the streets, drenched and murmuring tales of eerie shadows that chased him back to the shore. The air around them thickened with dread. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake leaned in, the tension peaked. The tales spiraled into a horrifying crescendo, shadows flickered at the corners of his vision, spirits tugging at the fabric of reality. The room tensed as the first cry erupted, echoing through the cracked walls. Did you hear that? Someone hissed. A collective intake of breath filled the room, heartbeats racing, as Jake felt his grip on reality begin to fray. Another story commenced, one that linked directly to him, to his family, revealing buried secrets that he'd never known. Amidst the storm's rage outside, Jake's eyes widened at the realization that maybe, just maybe, he carried the burden of those secrets. As the temperature dropped and shadows twisted, he steeled himself. What was lurking in the storm, waiting to be unveiled? Would this storm exorcise the ghosts of their past or summon darker forces that could bind them forever? Just when he was about to take a stand, an agonized scream ripped through the air, capturing every soul in the room. Every head turned to the door, where dark figures loomed. Who or what was waiting to unleash chaos upon Maple Grove? The door swung open with a force that sent a shiver down Jake's spine. Lightning flashed, illuminating the tall figures standing against the backdrop of the storm's fury. Their faces twisted in a mix of fear and fury, shadows danced like supernatural puppets around them. The elders gasped, their stories suddenly rendered mute, as a thick, spectral silence draped over the room. Who are they? Whispered Tanya, one of Jake's closest friends, her voice barely more than a breath. She tugged nervously at the collar of her sweater, eyes darting between her friends and the ominous figures. I don't know, Jake began, yet his voice faltered as he stepped forward, drawn like a moth to the flame. As he approached the door, the figures began to take shape, revealing haggard faces that seemed to have weathered countless storms, not just the rain, but torment that stretched deep. One of them stepped forward, a woman with hollow, sunken cheeks and bronze hair plastered against her forehead. We're not here to hurt you, she cried, her words barely piercing the storm's roar. We've come to warn you. The tension exploded like a shattered dam as the other figures moved closer, their eyes wide with urgency. Jake's heart thudded, the beat quickening with each passing moment. About what? He demanded, frustration boiling beneath his fear. He wanted answers, wanted the truth buried beneath the fear of the past and the horror of the present. "The Rain Lady is coming," a young man interjected, desperation clawing at his voice. "She is angry. She is always angry during a storm. There's a curse in Maple Grove, and tonight is the night of reckoning. She will come for what is hers." He raked a hand through his hair, panic flaring in his eyes. Jake felt his stomach drop as he recalled the chilling tale from earlier. The woman searching for her lost child, would she now search for him? A ripple of dread coursed through his veins. He had never believed in these stories, yet here they were, seeping into reality like rainwater through rotting wood. What do we do? Tanya's question hung in the air, heavy with despair that seeped into each soul present. "Listen," the woman urged again, her voice reverberating. "There's a way to stop her. Find the key. She's looking for the lost soul. It's south, buried under Maple Grove, beneath the old oak tree during the next storm." Another crash of thunder echoed, rattling the window panes, as a flash of lightning abruptly revealed a window cracked open, drenched in rain. Jake felt a shift in the atmosphere. The air thickened with the weight of revelations yet to come. "What if we can't find it?" Jake's voice trembled, the fear of failure creeping in. "Then you'll be lost to the storm. Just like those before you." The man's eyes seemed to glaze over, almost haunted, the weight of their ominous history palpable. Suddenly, the lights flickered wildly before plunging the room into darkness. Murmurs escalated into panic as Jake's heart raced against the growing storm. A cold wind swept through, stirring whispers of vulnerability and despair. With no time to lose, Jake turned to his friends, determination igniting within him. "We need to get to that tree." But even as he spoke, an ethereal wail sliced through the wind, a mournful cry that rattled through the bones of the building. An otherworldly force drew near, the storm stirring around them like a wicked dance of chaos. Would they unearth the lost key in time? And could they confront the Rain Lady without being swept away into her stormy abyss? As they rushed out into the night, the darkness closed in, and the chaos awaited their fateful choice. What awaited them under the old oak tree? Would the search reveal truths more haunting than they might ever anticipate? The rain fell like daggers, slashing through the night as Jake sprinted ahead, his heart pounding against his ribs. The storm heaved, pushing back, as if warning them to turn back. But the faces of his friends Tanya, Michael, Sophia were etched with determination and fear. They had to reach the old oak tree, had to face whatever awaited them in the shadows of Maple Grove. "Stay close," Jake yelled over the howling wind. Their footsteps splashed through puddles that shone darkly under the flickering streetlights, the world around them shrouded in a swirling curtain of rain. Thunder rumbled like a beast awakening, promising destruction. "No!" Tanya shouted, stopping abruptly, her shivering hands clutching at her chest. "We can't just keep running without a plan. What if we dig in the wrong place? What if she gets to us first?" Jake felt his resolve tremble for a moment, doubt creeping in like the chill of the wind. But he shoved it down, forcing intensity into his gaze. "We'll figure it out when we get there." The warnings were clear. "We have no choice." A flash of lightning illuminated the path ahead, and they pressed on. But something in the air shifted abruptly, a palpable dread wrapping around them like fog. It didn't feel just like a storm anymore. It felt alive. The shadows lurking in the corners deepened, whispering curses he couldn't quite catch. Suddenly, Michael stumbled, almost falling as he lost his footing on the slick ground. "Did you see that?" he gasped, pointing into the swirling darkness. Jake squinted into the shadows, but in the next moment, another crack of thunder roared, echoing his heartbeat. "See what?" Sophia asked, a tremor in her voice. "I swear something moved," Michael exclaimed, panic creeping into his words. It looked like a figure. "Run!" Without waiting, they turned and bolted from the site, breathing heavily, fogging the cold air as they darted toward the open fields leading to the ancient oak. Each step felt weighted, as if the earth was reaching up, trying to grasp them, reclaim them, but Jake refused to be pulled back. An image of the Rain Lady flashed in his mind, her hollow eyes, stricken with grief and rage. Why was she angry? What had the town done to provoke her? We have to stay focused, he yelled. No distractions. Then, as if the storm heard him, a piercing shriek broke through the cacophony of the storm, this time unmistakably human. Every sound around them halted, a heavy silence cloaked their surroundings. What was that? Tanya shrieked, eyes wide. Jake's stomach dropped. The wail echoed again, closer now. It was like the voice of a tortured soul, dragging them deeper into something they weren't prepared to confront. In the distance, the outline of the old oak emerged, gnarled and sprawling, silhouetted against a dark sky flickering with static energy. Jake's pulse quickened. This was it. As they approached, the wind picked up again, a whirlwind of chaos that surrounded them. Branches creaked overhead, twisting ominously, while shadows trailed behind, trying to catch up. The air thickened, pulled tight, filling Jake's chest with dread. What now? Tanya quivered, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake gazed at the tree, heart racing. We dig. We have to dig under it, like they said. Under the roots. The determination in his voice steadied the group. Even if fear electrified the air, they began to claw at the muddy ground, fingers slipping, desperation growing. As rain mixed with dirt and sweat, the atmosphere turned electric. Each drop felt like the tears of the Rain Lady, each gust a warning in itself. And then, beneath the soil, they hit something solid, something cold. What is it? Tanya's voice trembled. Their breath caught in unison, curiosity battling against fear. Jake pushed harder, feeling the adrenaline surging. I'm not sure, but we have to find out. But as darkness loomed overhead, and the chilling wail crescendoed into anguished cries, a dread-filled question dripped heavily in the air: what would they uncover beneath the roots of the old oak? Would the key they unearthed lead to salvation or something far worse? The rain continued to hammer down as they dug, each shovel of mud and grime feeling more like a desperate plea than an action of courage. Jake's fingers ached, his palms raw against the cold earth, the relentless wailing in the air seeping into his bones. It was as if the storm itself was warning them, reminding them of the tales passed down through generations about the Rain Lady. She wasn't just a ghost, she was a force of nature itself, angry and justice-hungry. What's taking so long? Michael hissed, his anxiety spilling over. The shadows around them seemed to pulse with life, stretching closer. I don't like this. We should turn back. Shut up and keep digging. Jake shot back, anger blending with the fear that hung thick like fog. He didn't want to think of the alternative. What if they were too late? What if the Rain Lady found them first? Suddenly, a glimmer caught Jake's eye, a small object partially buried in the wet soil. Over here! He shouted, heart racing. They all crowded closer, hands moving frantically as they unearthed a smooth, black stone, engraved with disturbing etchings. It was the size of his palm and pulsed with a strange warmth, as if it were alive. What is that? Tanya whispered, her voice trembling. Jake could barely breathe, he felt both drawn to and repulsed by it. The engravings looked familiar. It's an artifact. Something from the old legends, he muttered, recalling snippets from stories he'd heard as a child. They used to say it belonged to her. The moment the words left his mouth, the wind shifted. The temperature dropped, and the wailing around them swelled into a chaotic chorus. It layered over their breathing, matching the rhythm of their pounding hearts. We need to go. Now. Michael screamed, backing away. But as he turned, a shadow flickered out of the corner of his eye. Something dark was watching them. Don't move. Jake yelled, but it was too late. The figure darted forward, a flash of white in the dark, hair whipping like tendrils of mist. Jake's heart lodged in his throat. There she was, the Rain Lady. Her face was contorted in anguish, tears mingling with the rain, her eyes bore the weight of 1,000 storms. "This is your fault." Her voice sliced through the noise, low and growling, echoing with anger. Shadows swirled around her, whispers of the past clawing at their sanity. "You shouldn't have disturbed my resting place. What do you want?" Jake stammered, instinctively clutching the stone tighter. Cold dread filled the air, and Jake could feel everyone's eyes on him. Time stopped as if they were all suspended in the storm. "Your sins, children. Your sins have awoken me. Return what you've taken." Her hands were raised, fingers curling as if beckoning a storm ready to break. Tanya drew closer to Jake, hands trembling. "Return what? We haven't taken anything." "Lies." The rain lady hissed. Her eyes glimmered, fury erupting like lightning. "You play with forces you cannot understand." Guessing their only chance, Jake held the stone out. "Is this what you mean? Take it back. Please, just let us go." The lady's expression shifted, uncertainty creeping into her anguished facade. For a heartbeat, the storm quieted, the wind stilled as she focused on the stone. "The truth shall bind us," she murmured, the intensity of her voice resonating deeply. Before Jake could respond, a deafening clap of thunder sent shockwaves through the air. The rain lady began to fade into the shadows surrounding them, the wails of the storm rising again like a tide ready to break. The cold grasp of her fury felt insurmountable. "What just happened?" Sophia whispered, eyes wide. "I don't know," Jake breathed, looking down at the stone, the weight of their choice pressing down upon them. Was it a curse? A blessing? He looked back at his friends, each face a mirror of fear and uncertainty. As they turned to flee, the ground shuddered beneath them, and suddenly something began to rise in the roots behind them, something that felt more sinister than they could have ever anticipated. What were they truly buried beneath the oak and wood? The answers save them or doom them further. Jake stumbled back as the earth groaned, a low, ominous sound that vibrated beneath their feet. The roots of the ancient oak twisted, shifting like serpents, revealing a glimmer of bone and muck entangled deep within the soil. Michael gasped, a hand flying to his mouth, struggling to suppress the horror etched across his face. "Get back!" Tanya shouted, backing away, but the ground felt alive, pulsing underfoot. The air thickened, stifling their breaths, as if the forest itself was holding onto a dark secret, a secret they had just begun to pry loose. "Oh God, what is that?" Sophia murmured, her voice nearly swallowed by the sudden downpour, the rain now beating an anxious rhythm against their skin. Jake squinted, trying to see shapes forming in the roots, shadows pulling away from the light of their flashlights. "What if it's the rain lady's victims?" Michael said, his voice quaking with both fear and disbelief. The thought hung heavy in the air, a weight none dared to confirm. "Stop it!" Jake snapped, the stone still clutched in his palm. "We need to focus. We have to figure this out before she comes back." Panic edged his tone, and the shadows seemed to quiver closer. As they hovered over the exposed grave, Jake took a trembling step forward. There a human skull appeared behind the roots, eyes socketed dark with time. A hollow echo resonated in Jake's chest, fear tightening around it like a vice. "This is wrong, this is all wrong." But he couldn't look away. It was a morbid curiosity that chained him to the spot. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the bone dislodged, rolling toward him. He recoiled, breath hitching. A whisper woven through the rustling leaves and roaring rain reached his ears, numbing his thoughts. "Disturb not the dead," it hissed, a chilling wind spiraling around them, enveloping them like a shroud. "Run! Somebody, just run!" Michael shouted, his voice cracking with urgency, and they all turned, sprinting toward the only escape they knew, the path back. But the forest writhed, branches clawing and bending, as if alive and intent on holding them back. "Where do we go?" Tanya screamed, her eyes darting from shadow to shadow. It felt like a labyrinth, everything shifting. The rain hammered against them, blurring vision and muddling their steps. "Head for the nearest road." Jake yelled, instinctively leading them back the way they'd come, toward the flickering light of the street lamp they had spotted before, but as they bolted down the trail, another powerful jolt shook the ground beneath them. A wave of dark mist rose from the roots, swirling hungrily around their ankles, trying to drag them down into the soil. "No!" Sophia cried, digging her heels into the ground as she fought against the unseen force. "It's pulling us back." "Jake!" "The stone!" Michael yelled, panic-stricken and fading as the mist encircled him, threatening to engulf him whole. Jake's mind raced. The Rain Lady had demanded something be returned. Was it the stone? Could it lock the evil away? He could only guess, but the desperation in his friend's eyes urged him forward. "Hold on!" he shouted, clutching the stone tight. "I need to try something." He turned to face the rising mist, the echoing whispers of lost souls gut-wrenching. "You want this back? Take it!" he yelled, throwing the stone toward the shadows churning beneath the oak. It landed with a thud, and in that instant, the mist halted, swaying erratically, its form contorting with disbelief. With a gasp, the ground erupted. The roots shrieked as they ripped back, revealing a deeper grave, the wailing intensifying into a cacophony of furious voices. "What did you do?" Tanya asked, wide-eyed, but Jake couldn't answer. The stone lay dormant, twisted with a fate that felt larger than all of them. As the roots clawed desperately for what they had sought, an echoing laughter split through the roar of the storm. The Rain Lady's laughter. It was a sound that chilled them to their bones, a haunting melody echoing warnings of what lay ahead, and then, the surface of the ground began to pulsate with a life of its own, as from the depths, something dark and spiraling began to rise, a form, swirling and twisting, taking shape against the sinister gray backdrop. "Whatever that is, we've got to get out, now!" Jake shouted, turning to run again. But as they fled, his heart drummed wildly in his ears, knowing neither the stone nor the forest's secrets would let them go so easily. What they unleashed might just be the beginning of an even darker tale. They sprinted, hearts pounding, breaths coming out in ragged gasps as the ground thumped beneath them, alive and unpredictable. Jake glanced back, dread clutching at him. The mist lifted, intertwining with the dark silhouette that slowly unfurled. Every pulse seemed to ripple outward, a heartbeat that mirrored their own. "Keep going. Don't look back!" Tanya yelled, her voice slicing through the storm like a sharp knife. The flickering street lamp they had once seen was still a distant glow, but every second felt like an eternity, time stretching into an unbearable silence that was quickly crushed by the monstrosity rising from the soil. "No, we can't leave, Michael," Sophia pleaded, tears mixing with the rain. Jake's heart twisted painfully. Michael was still behind them, locked in a battle against the dark tendrils coiling viciously around him. "Jake!" His name was a desperate plea. Michael's terror swirled around them, a thick fog of fear that was almost tangible. Jake could see his friend struggling, the shadows tightening like a noose, snaring him deeper into the wet earth. "It's not safe!" Jake shouted, but the sickening pull of responsibility clawed at him. Michael was in trouble, and leaving him felt like betraying everything they had fought for, everything they had gone through together. "Jake, NOW!" Tanya screamed again, urgency painted across her features. They were losing ground, and whatever emerged from that tomb was threatening to claim them all. With a final glance back at Michael, dread pooling in his stomach, Jake turned away. "We'll come back for you," he called, though he didn't believe his own words. They plunged forward, the brightness of the street lamp still far away, the rain hammering harder than ever. Suddenly, they heard a chilling wail that pierced the air and struck right through their chests. It was the Rain Lady, her voice a twisted melody that warped and echoed through the trees. "You can run, but your fate is sealed," she sang, a sinister promise hanging in the air like a noose. Branches snapped and twisted towards them, mere shadows of what had become an aggressive forest. Jake felt the cold breath of something dark as he ran, fear rising like bile in his throat. The shadows hissed with fury, slashing at their heels, desperation clinging to every raindrop that fell. "We have to stick together. Keep moving." Jake shouted, leading the way, but dread smeared his confidence. The forest felt like it was closing around them, the trees bowing as if in supplication to an unseen force. Up ahead, they saw a shift in the rain, a break in the clouds revealing a glimmer of moonlight that painted a path. It was an eerie beacon, a chance of salvation they could not ignore. "Run for the light!" Jake yelled, pushing his legs faster, every ounce of strength focusing on that shimmer. But as he dashed toward it, a lurch in his gut warned him. Could they really reach it? Were they running straight into the Rain Lady's trap? A piercing shriek cut through the night, loud enough to shake the ground. Jake felt a jolt run through him, like static before a storm. The ground quaked, and the very roots of the earth shot up in violent protest. Tanya stumbled, dragging Sophia down with her. "Help!" Sophia screamed, panic-stricken. Jake skidded to a halt, heart pounding. "No! I won't leave you." Without thinking, he found himself rushing back to help them as the shadows surged nearer. The ground churned beneath him, and he could sense the evil creeping closer. He reached for Sophia's hand but froze as shadows erupted around them, reaching for him, cold fingers weaving their way through the darkness. The air turned icy, piercing him with dread. "Go!" Tanya urged, her face taut with fear, but Jake couldn't move. He could feel his own heartbeat faltering, caught in the very climate of despair. "Come on, we have to go now." He shouted, the stakes high, but the decision weighed heavily on him. In that moment, the ground beneath began to split, a void that beckoned all towards its grasp. The echoes of Michael's name still resonated in Jake's mind. Could he leave his friend behind? The question lingered, a thread of connection to the past that tugged at him like the roots curled beneath their feet. Then from the shadows, the Rain Lady emerged drenched in darkness, her form pulsing like a living creature, eyes glinting with malice. "Your choice is made, little boy," she whispered, her voice a slither of silk. Jake's thoughts raced. How could he fight this evil that had swallowed so many, yet kept so many more? As the tendrils snaked closer, he ripped his gaze from her. He could only hold on to one thought: there was still a chance to save them, but it would take everything he had. "Stay close!" he shouted to Tanya and Sophia, sensing the moment hanging by a thread. But then, the shadows surged around him as the laughter enveloped them like a dark embrace. What awaited them just beyond the edge of darkness? Would they all escape this nightmarish grasp, or would they become another ghost lost to the tales of the Rain Lady? The shadows writhed, hungry for flesh and fear, closing in on Jake, Tanya, and Sophia as they stood frozen in terror. The Rain Lady's laughter echoed sinisterly, a melody that twisted around their hearts like vine-wrapped thorns. Jake's mind raced as he fought against the paralyzing grip of dread. They needed a plan. "Grab my hand. We stick together, no matter what," he shouted, reaching out to Tanya and Sophia with trembling fingers. Each second stretched painfully as they fumbled for each other, their breaths shaky against the overwhelming weight of fear that thickened the air. The pulsing mass of darkness coiled dangerously close, and with a surge of adrenaline, Jake pulled them toward the flickering light in the distance. "We can make it. Move!" They sprinted again, forcing their legs through the sludge of rain and the oppressive weight of fog. But a sudden gust of wind pushed against them, as if the very storm conspired to keep them captive. The light flickered mockingly, a whisper of hope in an ocean of despair. The ground trembled beneath them, and the shadows greased their footsteps with wickedness. Jake felt the chilling fingers of the Rain Lady reaching for his mind, the sound of her voice wrapping around his thoughts. "It's hopeless," she crooned, weaving a spell with her words. "You will never escape me. I've feasted on souls who believed they could outrun the night." Jake shook his head violently, trying to clear the fog of despair. "We won't give up. We'll find a way," he yelled, propelling himself forward as he felt the tension pull tighter around them like a vice. Sophia was trailing, her breath coming in desperate gasps, sinking beneath the weight of dread. "Jake, what if we don't make it? What if we never see Michael again?" Her eyes shimmered with tears, pain etched upon her features as she stumbled through the darkness. Then we fight. Tanya snapped, the fire of survival igniting in her spirit. We don't leave anyone behind. Michael wouldn't give up on us. That resonated in Jake's chest, strong enough to push aside the weight of despair. He turned, beckoning her closer, their connection an anchor amid chaos. For Michael, we fight. The dark mass twisted angrily at their shared resolve, sensing the spark of defiance. A sudden rush of wind knocked them off balance, and the ground gave way in front of them, opening like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. Jump! Jake yelled. They leaped into the void, praying they wouldn't fall into an endless chasm of darkness. As they landed, the ground was softer here, yet the whispers of the rain lady crept closer. You think you found refuge? This is my domain. Her voice lingered, filling the air with an icy contempt that sent a chill racing down Jake's spine. They found themselves in a narrow passage, the walls slick with something viscous that glimmered like rain on the surface. Shadows danced just beyond the reach of their flickering resolve, curling at the edges of dread. Where are we? Tanya whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant growls of unseen horrors. I don't know, but we have to keep moving. Jake urged, fear perched on every word. They crept forward, the air growing thicker, each heartbeat echoing loudly in the silence around them. Then, the ground shifted beneath their feet. A low growl rumbled through the passage, and an unseen force launched at them from the shadows. What is that? Sophia screamed, the panic snapping through her. Run! Jake called out, adrenaline pulsing through him as the dark creature lunged from the shadows, snapping teeth glinting in the dull light. They sprinted, the passage constricting around them as they fled from the terror behind. But ahead, a glimmer of light flickered again, a beacon amid the storm of shadows, a promise of warmth in the icy grips of the unknown. Over there. To the light. Jake urged, pushing forward, but the darkness was relentless, howling, screeching, as they dashed towards uncertain salvation. Would they reach the light and emerge from the nightmare, or find themselves forever entwined in the clutches of the Rain Lady? As Jake raced toward the glowing promise, one thing remained clear: darkness never rests, and their battle had only just begun. The light flickered brighter as they barreled toward it, illuminating their path with a strange warmth that drew them in. But with each step, the shadows snarled behind them, redoubling their efforts, scraping at the ground, desperate to claim their prey. Keep running! Jake shouted, glancing back only briefly. Fear gripped his heart as he saw the creature emerge from the darkness, a grotesque mass of writhing limbs and glistening teeth. Each time it lunged, the ground shuddered, a tangible reminder of the horror that breathed down their necks. Tanya, panting heavily, urged them onward. Don't look back. We're almost there. But Jake could feel the hot breath of dread just behind them, the weight of despair threatening to suffocate them. As they pushed forward, the light transformed into a circular portal, shimmering with iridescent colors that pulsed in time with their racing hearts. What is that? Sophia gasped, the wonder momentarily breaking through her panic. Whatever it is, it's our chance. Jake urged, the tears in his eyes now mixing with the rain. The taste of fear lingered bitterly in his mouth, but hope began to spark like flame from embers. They reached the portal just as a roar burst from the depths of the shadows. The creature shrieked, its fury echoing through the air, a sound that froze even the raindrops in their tracks. Just as Jake reached for the swirling edge of the light, he felt an icy grip around his ankle. The darkness sought to reclaim him. Sophia! He yelled, his voice cracking, help me. With a swift movement, Tanya grasped Jake's wrist, pulling with all her might. Sophia, her fear morphing into determination, yanked on Jake's other arm. Together, they wrenched him free from the talons of despair. They stumbled as a unit, the force of their combined will propelling them into the glimmering edge. The air around them shifted, a cool embrace that washed over their terrified bodies. With one final heave, they vaulted through the light. Then silence fell, the world around them shimmered, blinding them briefly. When their vision cleared, they stood in what seemed to be an expansive field, bathed in moonlight. It was serene, untouched by the darkness they had fled. But the peace felt too good to be true. "Is this safe?" Tanya looked around, sensing the tension in the air. The nature of their surroundings was beyond strange, a stark contrast to the terrifying passage they had just escaped. There were no ominous shadows lurking, but unease gnawed at the edges of their minds. Jake tried to catch his breath, but something felt wrong. A heavy weight loomed just beneath the surface of their tranquil haven. "We have to keep an eye out," he cautioned. "Whatever that was, it won't stop just because we ran." Just then, a laugh echoed through the field, familiar and mocking. It sent shivers through them and felt like a cold hand gripping their spines. "Did you think you could escape me so easily?" The voice of the Rain Lady poured over them, unmistakable and dripping with venom. Terror surged back into their veins, and they turned to face the illusion of peace shattering around them, revealing shadows pooling at their feet. "Run!" Jake shouted again, but this time, the laughter morphed into a haunting melody, enveloping them like a fog creeping in from every angle. They scrambled, not knowing where to go as the shadows coalesced with the moonlight, twisting reality itself. As they fled, Jake thought of Michael lost, somewhere in this chaos. Their fight wasn't just for survival anymore, it was for his brother's life. But as the Rain Lady's laughter echoed louder, the terrifying question loomed: would they find a way to save him, or would they, too, become just another story swallowed by the night? The shadows lurked closer, whispers echoing, and Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the true nightmare had only just begun. They sprinted through the field, a mad dash fueled by adrenaline and fear. The shadows danced at their heels, stretching and contorting as if trying to claw their way into the light. Each footfall on the soft grass felt like a countdown to impending doom. Jake could barely hear his own thoughts over the thumping of his heart and the chilling cadence of the Rain Lady's voice growing more sinister with every passing second. "Where do we go?" Sophia gasped, glancing left and right. The landscape shifted, blurring at the edges, as if the moonlight itself was being stretched like taffy. Tanya stumbled, her shoe catching on a weed. "We have to find something, a shelter, anything," she cried out, her wide eyes reflecting terror. Jake's mind raced. He saw the moon glowing bright above, illuminating the horizon, which seemed to shift impossible distances as if hiding the escape they desperately needed. "Look over there," he shouted, pointing toward a darkened grove of trees at the edge of the field, shadowed by an overhanging mist that seemed to be moving with a mind of its own. As they bolted toward the trees, the Rain Lady's laughter morphed into pleading cries, echoing through the grass with an unsettling resonance. "You can't hide forever, children. You're tethered to the dark with every breath you take. Shut up!" Jake yelled, anger flaring as they veered deeper into the grove. The shadows licked at their backs like hungry flames, daring to consume them if they faltered for even a moment. They burst into the thicket, branches snagging their clothes as they pushed further inside. The air felt thick and oppressive, carrying whispers that clawed at the edges of their minds. Sophia shivered, her breath coming in shallow bursts. "What if she finds us?" "We can't think like that," Tanya replied fiercely, although the tremble in her voice betrayed her bravado. "We just need to keep moving." Jake spotted a massive tree trunk with a hollow at its base, cloaked in darkness. "In there," he directed, and they dove into the opening, squeezing through like refugees escaping an oncoming flood. The interior was damp and earthy, the scent of loam and decaying leaves filling their nostrils. They huddled close, trying to catch their breath in the confined space. Outside, the shadows quivered, tentative, like a predator unsure of the territory it had encroached upon. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of dread weighing heavy on his chest. "Where's Michael?" he whispered. The thought tightened around his heart. How could they even think of escaping without him? As if in response, the laughter of the Rain Lady bubbled closer, echoing just outside their hiding place. "You think he is safe?" "He is lost in the shadows," she sang, each word dripping with malice. "You'll never save him, and soon you'll be trapped here forever." "Shut up!" Tanya snapped, tears welled in her eyes. We won't let you take him. We'll find him. That fury sparked something in Jake. Yeah. He echoed, gnawing on the sentiment. We're not done yet. Not now, not ever. But the darkness outside shifted, and a chill prickled at their skin. It felt alive, the shadows whispering their secrets as if testing the bounds of their sanctuary. Just then, a brilliant flash erupted from the direction of the Grove's exit, cutting through the shadows like lightning. What was that? Sophia gasped, eyes wide as fear morphed into curiosity. They all peered toward the hollow's edge, but the dance of shadows seemed paralyzed, waiting for the next move. What if it's Michael? Tanya whispered, hope flickering against the dread looming over them, and then, a chilling thought gripped Jake. If the shadows were hunting him, could they be closing in on Michael? He finally grasped the cruel reality, time was running out. Then the haunting melody returned, more beautiful and terrifying than before, arching through the trees. Come out, wherever you are. The shadows gathered tightly, the air charged with impending doom. Did they have a chance to spring back into the light, or had they unknowingly walked into an even darker fate? Panic gripped Jake. Again as the laughter faded into the whispers, each promise of safety now feeling like a cruel illusion. Make a choice, the air seemed to whisper. Stay or find the light. As the tension hung thick, the decision loomed ahead, a gamble for life or death that would change everything and perhaps reveal the secrets hidden between shadows and light. Jake's heart raced as the shadows pressed closer, their sinister whispers curling around his mind, urging doubt. The Rain Lady's laughter lingered, echoing like a dark promise. What do we do? Tanya whispered, her breath barely a thread in the heavy air. He could see the fear etched into her features, mirrored in Sophia's wide eyes. This was at the moment they had to choose, to fight or to hide. Listen. Jake said, steeling himself. We have to find Michael. We can't leave him behind. The resolve in his voice surprised even him, a flicker of courage igniting amidst the dread. He glanced at the others and for a moment, he could see something spark between them, an understanding, a fierce loyalty. Okay, Sophia said, her voice shaky yet determined. Let us move. Creeping out from the hollow, they forged ahead. The shadows began to writhe, almost alive, seeming to react to their presence. With each footfall, Jake could feel the storm inside him building. We'll never find Michael hiding here. It's time to confront her, he declared, though uncertain how the confrontation would play out. The grove had transformed, darkness seeped into their vision, curling and twisting with each pulse of fear. But ahead, amidst the thick trees, a faint light flickered like a heartbeat, calling to them through the gloom. That way. Jake pointed, desperation fueling his movements. As they approached, the light began to shimmer, outlining a clearing that felt like the very fabric of hope woven into despair. Yet as they neared the source, familiar laughter erupted, a dagger of sound. You think you can escape me? The Rain Lady emerged, cloaked in shadows, eyes blazing with rage. I'll feast on your hopes. With fear slicing through him like icy rain, Jake stepped forward, fueled by the panic for his friend. We're not afraid of you. We're here to find Michael. He shouted, forcing the trepidation down. It was a bluff, but he hoped it would carry weight. Find him? She sneered, shadows swirling around her, forming whips of darkness that danced like the flickering light. He is lost, trapped in the depths of my shadows. Only I can save him or doom you all. Jake's hands trembled, fingers curling into fists. Then let us see him. Let us choose his fate. He gripped his reality tightly, each word spoken like an incantation against the growing tide of fear. The Rain Lady's laugh echoed, sharp and cruel as she dismissed him. You think you wield power here? The depths have already claimed him. With a rush of adrenaline, emotions igniting a fire in Jake, he made a choice. Then we'll go. He yelled, willing to take the jump into darkness. We'll go into your depths. And we will find him. The moment hung in the air, thick with anticipation, as the shadows paused. A flicker of recognition passed through the Rain Lady's eyes. Doubt. Foolish little children, she hissed, but there was a hint of something else. Very well. If you wish to confront what lies within, step forward. And without hesitating, Jake stepped fully into the swirling shadows, shoving his way into the dark heart. It felt like being engulfed by a tempest, the world crashing around him, sound twisted, colors warped, fear wrapped around him like chains. Michael. He called, the sound of his voice lost in the maelstrom, one thread of determination pulling through. Suddenly, he stumbled onto damp ground, the tempest surrounding him. The sound of rain drummed like a heartbeat, steady, relentless. As his eyes adjusted, Jake found himself in a twisted version of Maple Grove, dark and distorted, echoing with cries of lost souls. The air was thick with despair, a palpable fog that felt like sorrow laid heavy upon his chest. Michael. He called again, desperation clawing. Jake. Is that you? From a distance, a voice called back, worn and weary. Jake's heart soared but was quickly tethered with dread. I'm here. He shouted, the weight of uncertainty still lurking. They moved toward the sound, dread curling around him like mist. It's a trap. Tanya shouted, her voice pulling him back to reality. We have to be careful. They pressed on. Deeper into the heart of shadows, as shapes danced at the edges of their vision, distorted faces trapped in their own horrors. You can't save him. Hissed the winds, swirling hypnotic promises of surrender into their ears, ensnaring thoughts. Keep going. Jake yelled above the din of despair. Each step led him closer to Michael's voice, but with every ounce of hope came a wave of overwhelming dread. The shadows twisted tighter, he could feel the rain lady's gaze on him, chasing him deeper, playing with his resolve. Then, he found him. Michael stood teetering on the edge of darkness, eyes wide but dimmed by despair, hands clutching his head as if he were trying to fight off the shadows. Jake, I couldn't escape. The weight of his brother's admission struck hard. Hold on. I'm coming. Panic surged, but Jake steeled himself. Together, we can fight them. He caught Michael's gaze, pulling forth all the memories they shared, their bond a weapon against the suffocating dark. Suddenly, the rain lady manifested behind Michael. Leave him be. She shrieked, her anger palpable as shadows coiled around Michael, threatening to pull him along with them. Jake surged forward, desperation fueling his every move. You will not take him. With a roar fueled by every ounce of courage, Jake reached for Michael. Together. He pulled with everything he had. The shadows clawed at him, dragging him down, but he wouldn't let go. Not again. They had fought through darkness for this one moment. Hold on. Tanya shouted from behind, rallying her strength as she summoned the flickering light from within the shadows, burning with determination. Suddenly, Michael grabbed Jake's hand, gripping tight. The brothers joined arms with Tanya and Sophia at their sides. On 3. Jake shouted. 1, 2, 3. They pulled each other in, a united front against despair, every heartbeat matching their resolve, a flood of light crashing through the darkness. The shadows shrieked, twisting violently, pushing back against the light of their bond. In that moment, the rain lady's laughter echoed with panic. No! She cried, her enraged visage flickering, unraveling before them. With a final push, they erupted through the cloud of darkness, exploding into the clearing where the moonlight glimmered. The shimmering force propelled them onward, banishing shadow and rage alike. With a gasp, they tumbled back into the familiar field, hearts racing with disbelief. They were free, but even as they took a moment to breathe, the shadows of the rain lady still lingered on the edges of their minds. We have to keep moving, Jake said softly, determination solidifying in his chest, clenching his fists. We can't let this haunt us. Hand in hand, they forged ahead, hearts pounding as one against the memories of fear, knowing they'd survived the darkness together, but there were still tales ahead to tell. They would learn to carry their scars, but those scars wouldn't define them. As they left the grove behind, a haunting whisper echoed through the wind, you cannot escape me. Jake forced a smile at the challenge, a promise of survival, because they had faced the storm and lived to tell the tale. they would do whatever it took to remain united against shadows, and someday they would find a way to rescue not just themselves but the other lost souls entwined in the murmurs of haunted memories. For they had faced the Rain Lady and emerged, and whatever came next, they would face it together, and so, they stepped into the night, hearts echoing with newfound hope against the looming storm, prepared to carve their own story in the aftermath. Now, before you dive into more adventures, remember, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and help us grow this tale-telling community. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And for true storytelling fans, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.